started another one. Okay, go ahead.
Do we get to see the class added right now before we move forward, or we just have to just wait? And yeah,
What do you mean?
we've sent our names and the courses that we want to be added for either 124 or 123.
Yes.
I was wondering if you are going to add it right now so we can see that we were added appropriately before we move forward.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin, but it should be forthcoming, however long it takes it to get to the system.
Uh, thank you.
All
Any,
right. Should I start talking and prompt your
absolutely.
students? Okay, so who am I? Why am I talking? So I was one of Elizabeth's students and one of Sam's students a long time ago, which is hard to think about. It's like, gosh, time has really passed. So currently, I am working at a very large corporation, which rhymes with Cramazon. And in particular, I red team, and I red team on satellites in particular. So space hacking, essentially. And the way that I came about is because I was at CCSF. I was doing astronomy, and I was taking Sam's courses, and NASA said, "Oh, we're hiring cybersecurity people," and I'm like, it would be really funny for me to get a free tour of NASA by just applying for the job, and I was not expecting to get hired, but NASA came and said, "Hey, like we actually do want you here." So I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm in cybersecurity now, working on satellites." So in fact, what I will do really quickly is let me do a desktop share here. Um, let's. So if you look behind me, I know I'm in a small window, but there is a telescope, and this is one of the images that I took this week. In fact, I will hide my face so you can see this better. This is the Veil Nebula. It's sort of off the wing of Cygnus, the constellation, if you know where that is. It can only be seen in the summer. And what you're seeing is a false color image. It is um, essentially, I take hydrogen alpha emissions, sulfur 2 emissions, and oxygen 3 emissions, and you don't have to worry about what those are. But I take these emissions from nebula, and then I apply them to a color channel. So sulfur might be red, hydrogen might be green, oxygen is usually blue. And I then create this image. And this is what Hubble does. And I'm showing this to you because the way I got this working is through hacking. Like, there's the telescope. There, I know it's hard to see, but there are 3D printed, essentially, server racks on the telescope. And I found a little loophole in physics, essentially, that says that I can double the signal to noise ratio for every time I quadruple the number of pictures I take. So I basically set up a computer to run the telescope all night on a single object, gather enough data that even though I'm here in the Bay Area, I can take images like that. Hacking is a useful skill, no matter what you're doing, and particularly when you're securing computers. But having that sort of mindset of there's a problem, let's find a loophole and exploit it, can apply to so many things. I'm going to check the chat to see if there's any questions. 1 second. I somehow have lost myself. Here we go. Nope, doesn't seem like there's any new questions. And let's see, why can't I? Oh, that's right. Zoom goes into weird window mode when you share. Anyway, so let's talk about hacking. So the first thing I say when you get into 123 and 124 is to start hacking right away. Like, just don't wait. Just get hacking. hack everything you see. Elizabeth will tell you I made her life so difficult. Every time I would see a computer, I'd be like, and I was in her classes, I'd be like, this needs to be hacked. So we would go to a hotel. I would hack the computers there. We would go, to a restaurant, and all of a sudden, all the desktop wallpaper has changed. Poor Sam's phone and Elizabeth's phones have all been hacked. It is every time you see a computer, just have that opportunity. Now, don't hack every computer. Obviously, I mean, make sure it's in good taste. But do hack. And in particular, I want to talk about a good place to start, which is Try Hack Me. So if we go over here, so this is a Kali VM, and if you don't know what Kali is, you will very soon. Kali is a distribution of Linux specific for penetration testing and hacking. And it has a whole bunch of tools built in. So if you look into the main menu here of applications, you'll see that there is stuff for information gathering, vulnerability analysis, web application analysis, databases, passwords, spoofing, sniffing, that kind of stuff. All these tools are built in, and it's really great if you're doing CTFs, because which stand for capture the flags. And capture the flags, or CTFs, are boxes set up specifically for you to practice hacking. And they sort of assume that you have Kali or something like it pre-installed. And so the easiest site to start hacking is a site called Try Hack Me. It's tryhackme.com. I will copy and paste this into the Twitch chat if I can. Let's see, can I do it? Yeah, there we go. It's in the Twitch chat. I will also throw it into the Zoom chat. There we go. Tryhackme.com. There is a fee to join. Talk to Elizabeth and Sam. There may be ways around that. It's not too expensive. But they have a bunch of these challenges, or CTFs, capture the flags. The idea is that there is a box, and a box is just a computer, and it has vulnerabilities. And what you have to do is you have to read a file that contains what's called a flag, which is proof of you getting in. So a flag can be any text, it can be a random string of numbers, it can be a password, but it's proof you got onto the system. And there's usually two flags on these boxes. One is a local flag, and one is a root or administrator flag. So the local flag proves that you got user access to the system. And then what you want to do is you want to go and try to escalate your privileges on the box to get a root flag, which basically means that, oh, now I'm root on the box. And so let's do one together as quickly as possible. I've never done this before. I should say, I've never done this particular box before. It is labeled as easy, so it shouldn't take that much time, but we'll go through the process of finding a system and then getting in, and then essentially getting root and taking it over. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to the Try Hack Me network. And so here I am in Kali. I have my command prompt open, and we're going to make a new folder, right? So this challenge is called opacity. So we'll make a new folder called opacity. That's mkdir, opacity. You will need to know your Linux command lines pretty well when you get into hacking. So if that is something you're not particularly super comfortable with, you will become comfortable by the end of the classes. So we have this folder set up for the CTF, and we're going to use a program called tmux, which is short for Terminal Multiplexer, which essentially allows us to have like split panes and stuff like that in our terminals. So we're going to write tmux new. And for our first pane, we're just going to connect to the network. So we're going to run OpenVPN, and then that's my username. Don't hack me. And now we should be on the network. So if we do IPA, we see that we have this tunnel, and our IP on the network is 10.13.67.30. So let's join the challenge. Let's join the room. So we click the Join Room button. In fact, I'm going to refresh the page since it should show me, oh, access machines is still red. No, I'm on the network. I don't know why it's showing red. And we're going to click Start Machine. So eventually it will give me an IP. So it says the IP will be shown in 1 minute. So basically the system is starting up. We're going to get an IP any second. So in order to prepare for the IP, we're going to open up our hosts file. So sudo nano etc hosts. This is our host file. These are some earlier CTFs I did, I think like 2 weeks ago, permx.hackthebox, which is another great site, by the way. This one is going to be opacity.tryhack. So unfortunately, a lot of the CTFs don't have proper DNS set up, so you have to set the domain yourself. Let's go back. We'll wait for it to start up. 8 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Aha, we got our IP. Excellent. All right, so now begins the enumeration phase. So when you enumerate, you're just studying the system. You're seeing what's there, what's vulnerable, what can I attack. So I'm going to make a new folder here called, we're going to call this map. We're just going to do some network mapping here. So we're going to run something called REST scan. And it is, let's see, REST scan-a opacity.tryhackme. Ports, all ports, range 1 to 55,300. There we go. So we're going to scan opacity.tryhackme on TCP ports 1 through 65,535. And I don't think we need anything else. All right, let's do it. Let's push enter. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We are going to key this into REST scan out.txt. There we go. So now it'll write this into a file. And we see that we have ports 22, 80, 139, and 445 open. What this tells me is that 22 is an SSH server, 80 is web, and 139 and 445 are part of SMB. Since there's SSH, I'm assuming this is likely a Linux host. Now, as you can see, it's already done. REST scan scans hosts really quickly, but it doesn't give a whole lot of output. So what we can do is, since we know that these are the only ports on there, we can do sudo nmap. So nmap has a lot more scanning options and a lot more scripts. So we're going to do a syn scan. We're going to be verbose and run some scripts and stuff. And the ports will be 22, 80, 139, and 445. Will be verbose. And we'll run script vuln. Output all formats, and map TCP, and the host is opacity.tryhackme. Oh wait, what did I do? Well, script vuln. Oh, it's just one N, no S. There we go. So what nmap is going to do is going to look over those ports, give me version numbers on all those ports, run standard scripts, look for vulnerabilities and output everything it finds into some files. But it's only going to look at ports 22, 80, 139, and 445. Now, in general, 80 is a very good port to start at. So if we open up another browser, while that runs, we can also open up another program that you are going to become very familiar with, which is called Burp Suite. So if we go to Web Analysis, we'll open up Burp Suite. And what's going to happen is that Firefox is going to send all its requests through Burp Suite. So we can view all the requests going between the Firefox browser and the website that we are looking at. And this is through the proxy. Intercept will be off. And we will go to opacity.htb. And it says unknown error occurred. That's not good. What is going on? Oh, by the way, we're done with the scanning, and we see that it does look like there might be some vulnerabilities. In general, SSH CVEs tend to be very hard to exploit. We do see that we are running Ubuntu and we are running Apache 2.4.41. It does seem like there are some pretty intense vulnerabilities on here, but we'll write that into our enumeration document for software. So we'll say nano software Apache 2.4.41. Let's see. Let's go back to Burp and see if we can't figure out what's going on. So let's curl -v -c.hackblog could not resolve opacity. Oh, try hack me. There we go. And 302 found Apache. Let's see. So a 302 is a redirect. Where is it redirecting me to? Server set cookie. Login.php. Okay, so it's good. Hack me. There we go. There we go. So there's this login screen, and we can try admin. Login. Does it work? No, it does not work. We don't know the login details. But we do know it's running PHP, which is good. So we'll put in software. Let's see. PHP. And we will make a new directory called web. And we'll start scanning their website. So to scan the website, we are going to run a tool called GoBuster. And we are going to be doing dir directory file enumeration mode. All right, GoBuster, their word list will be this, seclist, discovery, contact, web content, directory list, lowercase 2.3. So this is usually what I use when trying to discover content on a website. It's basically going to try a whole bunch of URLs to see what is there and what isn't. And let's see, we are looking at opacity.tryhackme and extensions. We know that this is PHP. I also like to do TXT, zip, and HTML. So it's going through and it's finding, found index.php, found login.php, And it's going to take a while to run through all the word list. So another thing that I like to do when I get onto a website is look for something called robots.txt, because sometimes there's interesting stuff in there. It's not in this one, but there are oftentimes directories that aren't supposed to be accessible from the user that are in this file. So basically, if you have like a web crawler, what happens is that it'll read robots.txt and know not to go into those directories. And anything that a administrator does not want a bot finding is probably something that they don't want users going to, which as a hacker means that those are pretty juicy things to check out. Checking the chat. So we have some questions. Michael says, can you use -p- like with Nmap scanning with FreshScan? Yes. So we did scan all the ports. We did set the full range to all ports. So TCP uses 16 bits for its ports numbers. So 16-bit means from 0 to 65,535. So scanning ports 1 through 65,535 is the same thing as -p-. John Cheng asks, what's the thing you have installed that does the name completion stuff, like FreshScan and Nmap parameter suggestions? So that is built into Kali. If you download a stock version of Kali, it will remember previous commands that you have entered before and suggests them to run again. So it is just a Kali thing, and I'm not sure what the exact program is or what script they're using. Anthony asks, how do you recognize the potential vulnerabilities? And this is where getting on TryHackMe right away is essential. This is not something that you can really learn in a book. You just have to do this again and again and again and again until you're blue in the face. And then you'll start looking at stuff and being like, I feel like there's a vulnerability here. And it takes a whole lot of time to get to that point and a whole lot of practice. And that's what I'm saying. You should be on TryHackMe right away doing this. That's what I'm saying. You should be on TryHackMe right away doing this. So I heard someone echo. I don't know who that was.
Sorry, that was me, but I just muted the Twitch.
Okay. All right, so it's still running. We have logout.php. We can check that out really quickly. This might take a while. It's 1.3% done. Logout.php. What does that do? Nothing. Just takes you back to login. And yeah, if you go back to Burp, one of the things is you can go to the dashboard here or target. Go to opacity.tryhackme, and you can see all the endpoints here. So we just see login, log out. There is a CSS folder. There's probably nothing interesting there. We'll check that out really quickly. No. Wait, don't do that. All right, so yeah, we're not finding anything so far, but we did see that there was SMB, server message block on the server. So while that's running, we'll create a new window here, and we'll run something called enum for Linux, and this will be for opacity.tryhackme. And get some information here about what's running. So enum for Linux looks at server message block and gets some basic stuff, assuming that it's Windows. So it's in workgroup. We know this is an Ubuntu box from the Apache, but we do see that there is the server name is called Opacity. It's in a work group called Workgroup. And it does not seem to should be getting a whole lot of information. Let's see. Can't understand response. Found domain, opacity. It found a password info, so minimum password length is 5. That could be useful. So 5 characters is not very good for a password length. So we might be doing some password cracking. Found some SIDs. So SIDs are like user IDs. And it looks like it actually only found, let's see, S1221 and S1532. So it'll enumerate that. Oh, /cloud. That's interesting. So we did find something in the GoBuster enumeration. So we'll go back here, go to cloud. Oh, so this is, remember when I said one of the things you have to do this a lot and you start getting tingles, you sort of realize, oh, this is probably something that I should be looking at. This is probably something that's vulnerable. 5-minute file upload. You're telling me I can upload my own stuff to your servers? Well then, I have a strong feeling that this is how we're going to get it in. Let's see, there's a question. Anton Gutzman asks, do you have any recommendations for embedded IoT pen testing and hacking? That's very funny because that's a lot of my job, and I don't. Let me, one second. I'm going to show you off. All right, so this right here is what's called a CubeSat, or honest to goodness CubeSat, with the solar panel falling off the side here, but has the RBF tag, remove before flight tag, and everything, and stuff like this is a big part of my job, and you know, I've taken it apart, reverse engineer this stuff. And I really don't know of any good like online resources for like IoT device hacking. If you learn just the stuff in 123, 124, you will be good enough to just go into IoT stuff. The only real difference is that you do need to have a good understanding of electrical theory, including you know, how things are communicating. So like last night, actually, oops, wrong camera, there we go. Last night, I just set this up right here, which is, I know you can't really see that, there's an antenna in the background. This is an APRS, automatic packet reporting system, which is a ham radio thing for automatically sending packets over the over essentially ham radio frequencies that then get dumped onto the internet. And so if you really want to get into IoT and stuff like that, you really have to understand not only the computer side of things, because whether or not you're working with like TCP or like Modbus or CAN bus or something like that. I mean, it's all sort of the same, but just slightly different. Like you can still use Wireshark on CAN bus and stuff. But you do need to have a really good understanding of what's going on the silicon. How to, like, for example, do like voltage glitching if you're doing IoT stuff. And unfortunately, that's really hard to emulate in software. So I would say, get some Raspberry Pis. A colleague of mine wrote a really good book recently. Let me see if I can't find it. So I'm gonna share my screen again, but this time I'm gonna do the full desktop here. There we go. And let's see, what was I gonna do? All right, so we are gonna do on IoT hacking. Okay, so there's this one practical. Practical IoT. A good one that I can recommend. I suppose anything by No Starch Press is going to be pretty good. There's another one. What's the name of it? The name. How was IoT hacking? Oh, this is it. Microcontroller exploits. Anything by Travis Goodspeed. Does he have any other books? Yeah. So Travis just put out this book called Microcontroller Exploits, which I hear very good things about. And I will copy that and link that into the Twitch chat here. And I will also throw it into the Zoom. Let me throw that up. I can find it. There we go.
Real quick question, Sam. Please, what's the CRN for the 124 class?
I'll put it in the Zoom chat.
Sure, 1 second here. Let me pull it up for you here. For 124, it is 73201. I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Sorry, Caitlin.
Oh, no worries at all. Zoom is always weird. You minimize Zoom, but it does not actually minimize. It turns into a small window, which is always fun to work with. So yeah, when you're working with IoT stuff, you're oftentimes working with microcontrollers. And if you've never done a lot of like electronic stuff, you might not be entirely familiar with what a microcontroller is, but it's essentially a full computer. You know, you have a CPU, you have RAM, you have storage, and it's all on a small chip that's produced on for less than $1. And a lot of times these are like 8-bit computers or 16-bit computers, but they will, run everything on a circuit board. And so knowing how to hack them is really important. The most common microcontroller you're going to see is from a company called ST. ST microcontrollers are common all around the board. You might run into like something like an Atmega. A lot of people are now, or at least hobbyists, are using a microcontroller made by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, which is its own thing. But a lot of times the microcontrollers are now running either ARM or RISC-V. And like I said, they're just computers, but they're just on a chip. And so just knowing how to interface with that is important. And if you work with something like an ESP chip, which is another common microcontroller, ESP chips oftentimes have Wi-Fi built in, and it's like not secure. And so what we're doing here with the Wi-Fi on the CTF, or the web on the CTF, very similar to what you'll see on like an ESP32 type hack, where they have this like insecure web page running on a microcontroller. It's like, okay, thank you. So anyway, so 5-minute file upload, cloud storage, yeah. Let's upload an image. What do we do? Please select an image. External URL. So I think it wants to download from from another website. So what if we do nc-b lvp 80, and I wonder if it's going to connect to me. So if I do so this is my IP. I'm listening on port 80, and I will say, download this file, test.jpg. And sure enough, it connected. It's using wget, which is interesting. And it is doing, it's just, trying to download from me. Well, that's important. So if it's using wget, it might be vulnerable to, it did not work, okay. But we did get an image link. Found, yep, of course. No response from remote server, huh. Well, let's try this again. Capacity.tryhackme. For some reason, it's saying the URL is not found, but we do know that this exists. So it uploads images from a remote server into there. So let's try a few things. So the first thing I want to try is, can we make it run another command? So we will say http // localhost 90 semicolon ping -d10. So ping -d10 will have it ping 10 times. 1, 2, 8, ping localhost actually.
Caitlin, can you make that bigger? It's hard to see.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Yeah, except I can't scroll on this page.
Oh, well, it's the colors make it hard to see too. But anyway, bigger is better.
Yeah, bigger is better. Let's see, maybe that will make it easier to see. So what I said is, we're gonna try to do this URL, and we'll say this.jpg semicolon, which means another command, ping-c locals. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually connect to my IP again. And I want to see what comes through. So we'll listen again. And we will put in my IP. All of this and click upload image, and nothing really happens. Did we get something here? No, we did not. What if we did .jpg localhost semicolon pound.jpg? Okay, let's see if that works. Does not seem to be working. So it does not look like we can. Oh, it's trying to load.
Oh, maybe,
yeah, it does not.
maybe
Yeah, it
it's
does
weak.
not look like it's command injectionable,
Or maybe it waited 10 seconds.
or maybe it did.
Is
Except
there-
I should have gotten the first semicolon. It should have. So the way it worked is that it should have read this URL and attempted to run the wget command on that URL. And then it would have run ping. So I should have gotten something here, but I did not. So let's try uploading a PHP script. So there's plenty available online. So if we go to my favorite, PonyShell PHP. What PonyShell is a one file PHP shell. So what happens is we get this on a server, and then we can command the server from that PHP file. So we will make a new directory called host. We're gonna, just grab that. I've done a million times before. And we're gonna run our own web server here using Python. So Python 3 m HTTP server 80. And we will then have it try to upload shell.php. Please select an image. No, it did not connect. What if do space dot JPEG? It seems to be uploading. And it got shell.php. Okay, that works. So it downloaded shell.php.
Now, what happens if you click that image?
Yeah, what if we go, so that's the image link. Oh, there we go. So we're in. So this is PonyShell, and I wish I could make it bigger. Oh, there we go. That's much bigger. So if we run like ls, present working directory, we are on the system. So the first thing you do when you're on a system is run whoami, or ID, and we are www.data. So let's look around. What can we find? Oh, something happened. We'll try reloading the page. Not found on the server. We will upload this again. So sometimes these CTFs will delete stuff regularly, so we'll have to find a way to get better persistence. So let's do that. Let's go back here. Not working. Was working. We'll rename this to something a little bit more innocent. It's now a.php, and we will upload a.php. a.php, space.jpg. that's rude. We got it working for a second. External URL. Yeah, it got. Oh, it didn't pick it up. We'll try it again. Here. Uploading. It grabbed it. Okay. There we go. We're back. ppa.php. There we go. So that's not in the upload folder anymore. So if we go cloud, there we go. A.php. There we go. So that should be a bit more persistent, I would hope. Okay. And what do we have access to? So so Etsy password contains all the users. Despite the fact that it has password in the name, it rarely contains passwords. That usually gets put over into the shadow file, but we see that there's root user. We're looking for like a bin bash login. No login, false, bash. Sysadmin. So we have sysadmin and root are our two users. So we will add that into a file so we don't forget. Root and sysadmin. And let's see. So we know what's on the HTML server, or so we don't actually need to run GoBuster anymore. So if you remember, we were scanning, we don't need to, because we know it's on there. We have access to the system. So let's find more information. Can we run sudo? Anything sudo? Nope. So we can read in this folder. So let's go into sysadmin's folder. Oh, we cannot. So we have a bash history file in sysadmin, but we can't read it. We have a profile, probably nothing interesting in there. We have an SSH directory, but we can't access it. This is where our flag is, and there's a scripts directory that we can look at. So scripts. Script.php, we can't access that. Lib. We can read some of that stuff. Nothing in 10. Opt. Oh, haha, here we go. There is a KBDX, which I think is a KeyPass file on here. So we are going to have to somehow get this file off this system. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get this dataset.kdbx off this system and examine it. Well, they already have a Apache server set up for us. So let's copy We'll copy this. It's opt dataset. So we'll go to var www HTML, and we will copy opt dataset to data set dot kdbx. There we go. And if we direct our browser to datasets.kddx, that not work? What's going on? KDBX. Maybe I misspelled it. Oh, I misspelled it. There we go. So we copied that file onto their Apache server and we downloaded it. So now we have it. So we're going to cut that and throw that into our directory here. So this is try hack me, opacity, and create folder root. Throw that in. And let's take a look at this file. Now I don't know if I have KeePass installed. App search KeePass. Let's install it. KeePass XC. Oh, KeePass 2. That works too. So sudo apt install KeePass 2. Yep. All right, and we'll start KeePass. We'll open file, and that is in, I know this is very small, nothing I can really do about that. Let's see, try hack me. Capacity root. Oh, it wants a password. Password. Okay, so here's the challenge. So we have, so a KeePass file contains a bunch of passwords. And as you can imagine, a lot of times these are password protected. So we are going to crack the password. So let's do that. We will go into our root here and let's see. Oh, KeePass to John. Oh. That's going to be data. Oh, there we go. Hash.txt. So there we go. So we got a hash that we are going to crack. And for CTFs, usually it's not too hard to crack unless it's specifically like a hash cracking contest. So we'll just run John word list. We're going to run a common word list called RockU on hash.txt. This shouldn't take too long. I'm running on an i9. If this was a very difficult hash, I do have a 4090, but we already got it.
Data set.
The password is 7418
No, I think
52963. So let's open this up again. So we'll open up KeePass. Open file.
Could the password be data set? Oh, yes, right. Okay.
No, data says the name. So it worked. I got in. So we have a user, sysadmin, and a password. There should be a way to view it here. There we go. So this is the password. Cloud pass 40 opacity pound 8700. And let's nano their pass. This admin, we know that's the password, and if we SSH in, sysadmin at opacity.byhackme. We're in. So that was the password. ID, who am I? And so we can get our first flag. So if we read this file, we see that there is a hash here. We'll copy this hash and throw this into our, oh, here it is, try hack me. So it says, what's the local.txt? There we go. So we got one already. So now our goal, now that we're in, is to try to get to root. So we're going to try to get a super administrator now that we have a user on the system. However, before we even do that, I want to quickly see if there's any questions or comments in the Twitch chats. So I see there's quite a few, mostly to Liz. Reference books, guides. Okay. Callie's autocomplete history. Oh yeah, Sam mentioned the autocomplete history. I like your chair. Where can I buy it? Oh, thank you. So this chair is a knockoff chair. It's like a Herman Miller, I think, knockoff chair. I got it off Amazon. Let me see if I can't find the exact product page for it. And I'm going through my purchase history, so I'm not going to share my screen right now. But let's see. Nope. Here we go. So this one in particular is a grab freely chair. Share my screen now. Oops. Here we go. It's a Grabberly chair. Yeah, like I said, it's a knockoff Herman Miller. I do recommend, though, if you get any of these chairs, replace the wheels with roller skate wheels. So they have like rollerblade wheels for like these rolling chairs that work so amazingly well. And I will copy and paste this into the Twitch chat. 1 second. Nope, wrong copy and paste. Why did that not work? There we go. Okay, so there's another question here. How come the password isn't protected by AES? So it likely actually is. Let's see if we can't figure out a key pass password encryption algorithm. So yes, it does use AES 256, but they do have a password attached to the AES. So if you know the password, you can decrypt it. It's just a weak password. That's all. Let's see. Any other questions? What makes
Hi, it's Anthony. I'm Anthony.
Yes.
I have a question.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Is it okay to ask questions live? I mean, without time?
Please, yeah. I love it. I love it. It's hard to gauge vibe over text. So
Oh,
please feel free to speak up.
Good, good, good. You mentioned that you're using the Kali distribution. Is it the Would you advise to stick with Kali, or any other Linux distribution would do the job required for the ethical hacking? For learning?
That's a great question. So the question is, do I recommend using Kali or just any old Linux distribution for ethical hacking?
Right, like Debian, for example, Debian or Ubuntu. I'm using Ubuntu at the moment.
I would say, so Kali is actually an Ubuntu and or Debian derivative. So if you're already familiar with Ubuntu, you'll fit right in with Kali. There are some alternatives to Kali. So one of the alternatives, and I'll share my screen again. See, screen share. We'll go over to Parrot OS. So Parrot has a Kali-like operating system. It's a little easier to use than Kali, but it's for pen testers. There's a few others, but I would recommend that you use either Parrot or Kali or something in that vein specifically for pen testing, because a lot of the times you can't find the tools in the repositories that you absolutely need for pen testing. So if we look at one of my favorites, which is Blackarch. Blackarch basically has everything. I don't recommend using this, but when I am doing professional work, this is what I use, Blackarch, which is, you can install just Arch Linux and then add on Blackarch repositories. But that's what I use professionally. And then if I'm doing like a CTF, it's always going to be either Kali or Parrot, because the people that design the boxes assume you're running either Kali or Parrot, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect. And would you, I can repartition my hard drive and so have Windows and Linux side to side?
You can repartition your hard drive. That is one way of doing it. Now, that is not the easiest way of doing it. I'm going to share my whole desktop again.
I was suggesting the other way is virtual machine.
Yeah, so if you see here, there's, I should probably minimize my private chat here before going full, sharing everything here. But as you can see, I'm actually running on a Windows desktop. I'm running Kali and a virtual machine.
Oh.
And this is what I recommend. There are several virtual machine applications that you can choose from. Too many to go over right now, but there's the two big ones are like VirtualBox and VMware. Those are two big ones. There's like UTM for Mac. UTM is awesome, by the way. And there's also, let's see, there's the one built into Windows. I forget what it's called. Don't use that one.
Okay, then don't mention it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mention it. I've never used it. I don't. But there's a ton of options for virtual machines, and that's what I recommend.
Yeah, I think from Sam's other classes, if I remember correctly, I was using VMware. So
Right.
I'm familiar with that. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Perfect. No problem. All right, I will check chat one more time before we go grab roots. Looks like Hyper-V. Thank you. Yes, that's what it's called. Hyper-V. Never once Hyper-V. And the link. Oh, Stacy says the link to VMware download is broken. So Elizabeth and Sam, you will have to fix that. So let's quickly grab root and just finish up this box really quickly. So we got in, and now we need more enumeration, because now we have more access. We can see what's running. So we'll normally want to run sudo-l, which will list our sudo privileges. And we know the password for sysadmin. Copy password. User sysadmin may not run sudo. So that's a pretty bad system administrator. They can't run sudo. We'll run processes. So if we can't run sudo, we're going to have to take over a process running as root. So let's see. Ion clean. I don't know what ion clean is. We have SMBD. That might be something. Python 3 unattended upgrades. Nope. SSHD. Do we have anything running? Because there was some programs running. Nope. So there's these scripts. Oh, also bash history. History. SU. Does the password work for roots? No. Okay. So that was not useful, but we see the scripts directory. And we see scripts.php. And scripts backs up scripts of admin, sysadmin folder. Zip that for backups. Okay, so here's our way to get roots. Whatever is running this backup has root access. Now, we cannot edit scripts.php. However, if we look at the source code, it requires lib backup php inc. Which we also can't edit. Let's see. How do we get ACLs on Linux? List ACLs on Linux. There is a command you can get or run to get ACLs. View current get ACL. Okay. I don't think, yeah. ACLs aren't being used here, so yeah, we don't have write privileges. It's going to zip data home sysadmin scripts to var backups. So let's see what is in backup.inc.php. At lib backup inc.php. A lot here. And what I'm looking for mostly is some sort of like exec command in here that we can exploit, insert some data into. So we have zip data, source, destination. If exists, zip equals new zip archive. Source is source files, new recursive iterator. For each file and file equals real path. Add from string. Okay, get contents. new zip archive. So this is not running a shell command, but somehow I'm going to have to turn this into a way to get access. And I cannot, let's see, new files scheduled for removal. Oh, remember how we got the PHP files? We uploaded the shell and it deleted it. This is what's doing it. So it goes into the cloud images folder and sees if it exists, and if it exists, it deletes the file. And this is not running shell commands, which is annoying. But this is obviously how we're going to get root. A whole bunch of stuff here. We can't edit any of these. Yeah, nope. Let's see. There is, so they did not do a full path here, which might be something we can use. So let's see, let's go back. Cat lib back up at inc.php. Actually, let's see. Can we find out what's calling script.php? If we go into Etsy, grep. So grep is a regular expression search, recursive. We're going to search for script.php. And all the files in Etsy. Hopefully we can figure out what's calling it. But nothing is showing up. So it might be in roots cron job. Got something. Nope. Yeah, so it's probably just in root cron job, so we can't really see what's running it. We could, if we, there are programs that we can run that will scan processes, but I'm pretty sure that it's just in roots. Roots cron job. Let's see. We can write stuff in here. How do we, let's see, PHP reverse shell one liner. Reverse shell cheat sheet. Here we go. PHP. We Here we go. This is what we want. Let's see. We want port 1237. Second IP is. So essentially, what we're doing is we're making a PHP file that, if run, will connect back to us. So. And give us a reverse shell. So we're going to copy this. Good. And we'll just listen on 1337. Let's see, can we just move test.php to backup overriding? Yes. Oh, there we go. At backup. Okay. Excellent. So apparently we can write over that file. Now we just wait, and we will get a reverse shell as root. Why was I able to overwrite that file? Well, I don't know. Good thing I checked. Doesn't hurt to check. I guess because I own the directory. There we go. So now I'm root. That was it. We did it. So we're root on the system. And we'll go into the root directory. Copy that. And there we go. We'll throw that into our try hack me. And there we go. So that took a good amount of time. Yeah, that's how you go from, you see a box, you enumerate, you get in, you get user, and then you get root. And this was fairly straightforward and easy. All right, I'm going to check for any more questions and also move away here. You said one of the open ports was associated with SMB. Yes, it was. So one of the, and this is a question by Antoine. One of the ports was SMB. I don't know if it was any good. It certainly didn't help us. We ran enum for Linux. We did not get anything that really helped us get in. I'm not quite sure why SMB was running on this. It might just have been a red herring. But we got no real good information from it. There's a print. IPC is inter process communication. So there's like printers and like basic IPC stuff running on SMB, but there's no shares. All we got was a host name. So I'm not sure why SMB was running on this one, but it was, and it just did not help us at all. Yeah, someone mentioned VirtualBox. That's Elizabeth. Let's see. And check Zoom as well. What about cron? Yeah. So when I ran grep in Etsy, that looked at the public cron tabs. And if we go back and we'll go back to the root user. Here we go. Cron tab -L. Yeah, there it is. So, like I said, it was in cron tab. It was in roots cron tab, personal cron tab, which we as the user did not have access to. But that's how the script was executing as roots. And we knew it was executing as roots because it was writing the zip files, the backup zip files, as the root user, with root user only being able to read and write it. And let's see, I'll go back to Zoom here.
Caitlin,
Yes.
what happens when you hit a brick wall and you get really frustrated and you can't figure out how to get into something?
Oh, you keep trying. You keep trying again and again and again until you get in. You might want to try doing something else for a while. So if I am working on a project and I am just going around in circles, the best thing that I can do to move forward is to stop working for like an hour. Just do something else, take a break, go do something else. And then come back to it. And a lot of times, like, I'll just be like, okay, I'll take a shower, and then I'm in the shower, and the solution will come to me in the shower. The other thing is that if you are having trouble on a box, chances are you just need to do more enumeration. That is usually what you're missing. You're missing some key piece of information that is keeping you from getting into the box. I'm gonna look at Twitch. All right, do we have any more questions?
Hi, it's Tessa here. I don't
Hi,
have
Tessa
a
here.
question. Hello. I don't have a question, but I kind of have an announcement because I saw somebody on Twitch said that they just started working for a robotics company. So I am actually the student chapter for the WESIS, and I was the one that had the crazy idea to decide to open a chapter for WESIS. And one of our speakers that's coming up on September 17, she is gonna give a talk actually on Tuesday, September 17th. So her background is she's a defensive cyber operations engineer at a naval information warfare. So I met her at the WESIS conference this year, and she shared how she does cybersecurity and robotics. And I thought she was so awesome that I wanted to have her come speak to our school. So whoever, was putting that on the chat, please come to the talk, join the speaker. No, sorry, no, I'm not. So she's also a founder of Estrada Cyber Labs, and we are actually chatting right now to do an online interactive with her Toolbox Hackerspace. So please come join September 17th.
All right, you heard it, people. You have to join. And I'm pretty sure maybe Elizabeth and Sam might give extra credits if you go.
Absolutely.
See, this is...
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
I was gonna ask, can a link or some keywords can be sent around so that we can do the search and join the chapter?
It'll be posted up on Sam's page, samsclass.info.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about what I did to get in and to escalate, or does anyone have any questions about space hacking while I'm still here? Because remember, I do hack satellites for a living, so if anyone has any questions about that.
How does
I-
how does somebody go from not having much knowledge about hacking into things to doing something really cool like space hacking?
Great question. So how do we go from not knowing much about hacking to getting into like space hacking? Like I said, the reason I did this example of Try Hack Me is to get the rest of you started hacking right away. You just gotta hack, hack, hack. Every time you see a computer, hack. Think, I gotta hack in. And I can't stress this enough. Day one, the best day for you to have started Try Hack Me and Hack the Box was the day that it opened. So that was several years ago. They've been around for several years, both of the sites. The second best day for you to get on to Try Hack Me and Hack the Box for the first time is today, if you haven't already. Get on there and just start hacking. The way that I got into the industry is I just fell in love with these challenges. And I just got to the point where, you know, some people like doing crossword puzzles, some people like Sudoku. I love CTFs. And I love figuring out how to bypass security. It is just so much fun. And if you can get it into your mindset to just practice, 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 someone's going to notice that you can get into all these things and you will get hired. Which is exactly what happened in my case. All thanks to Sam and Elizabeth, by the way. I can't stress how awesome those two have been.
Speaking of getting into things, another fun extra credit project is lockpicking. So physical security is a part of security, and one way that you could get extra credit is to send in a short video and a write-up of yourself picking a lock that you have permission to pick, and send that in for extra credit points.
Absolutely. Lockpicking is a ton of fun.
Cats help. Gray furry cats help when you get stuck with hacking problems, I hear.
Your cat is very silly.
Yeah, she's a little too big for the chair, but she makes it work.
There is a really good question in Twitch.
Let me go over to Twitch.
Do they use TCP, IP in space?
So do they use TCP IP in space? That's a great question. The answer is kinda. So there is a ground link layer, and you can think of these as just like ground stations. You can think of the computers and the antennas as one big thing, and all the ground stations are communicating exactly like you would expect any other networked system to communicate, usually over TCP. And there is oftentimes you might have sort of like a transformer server, which will transform TCP traffic into traffic that the satellite can receive, the type of packets that the satellite can receive. And sometimes, rarely on a satellite's bus, there will be a TCP IP network. This is very uncommon, but it's not entirely unheard of. Generally speaking, most packets that are sent to space use a protocol, and I am totally spacing out on the name.
Link later.
Yeah, I'll link later.
Delay tolerant networking.
SC, Space Communication Protocol specifications. There's that. Oh gosh, what's the name of it? it's like NCCSDS, Space File Transfer Satellite Protocol. CCSDS, that's it. Sorry. It uses the CCSDS protocol to do like file transfers and stuff, which is not TCP at all. It's sort of a simplified standard. And then if you get on to beyond low Earth orbit, you get into something called the Deep Space Network, which uses delay-tolerant networking instead of TCP. So the problem with TCP is that you can get timeouts. And this is not such a huge deal breaker if the furthest you are away from someone is less than a light second. But when you get beyond geostationary orbit, so you get to like the moon or Mars or Jupiter, it can take minutes, seconds to minutes for a round trip packet. So Mars, for example, it can take like 40 minutes to do a round trip ping. And TCP is just not designed to handle that. And it's also not designed with the idea that sometimes your lines will be open and sometimes it'll be closed. So you can imagine you have a satellite around Mars, and it is going to relay data back to Earth. And sometimes the moon's going to get in the way, or sometimes the satellite around Mars is going to be behind Mars, so it can't even see Earth. And so one of the things that the protocol has to handle is delay and forward packets. So it has to wait until it gets a line of sight and then sends it. So that's where DTN comes in, delay tolerant networking. And Sam has a project on his website, if you're interested, where you can set up a DTN on your local network. And it works very similar to TCP/IP. But like I said, it just handles the niche applications of space. So that's a great question, yeah. You do need to know TCP/IP if you go into space hacking, but very few satellites use TCP/IP in flight. But they do use it on the ground for sure. Absolutely. Let's see. James asked, what telescope do you recommend for a beginner? Went to a 2-hour workshop in Spain this summer in Albania. Ooh, nice. And my son wants a telescope. Okay, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that space is better than ever to start your telescope journey. The modern equipment, the cameras, can do amazing things that you couldn't do a decade ago. The bad news is that if you really want to get into astronomy, it is ridiculously expensive. So everyone wants to know what beginner telescope to get. And that really depends what you want to look at. So for example, if you want to look at the planets, you need something that does a lot of zoom, or as we call, has a lot of focal length. But that usually is a big headache for various reasons. So I would say a good starting point would be something like a apochromatic refractor. And so let's, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's do full screen. There we go. Yeah, and if you go to a place like High Point Scientific, you'll see that these telescopes are not cheap, but they do have some Dobsonians. So that's actually a good one to start with. This one is an 8-inch Dobsonian. This is a viewing telescope, so you can't take pictures with it, but you can put on an eyepiece and just look around. And this is about $600. So a Dobsonian is a good starting telescope. And if you want to do astrophotography, so you actually want to take pictures, I would say look for a refractor, apo refractor. like this one right here. This is a 61 millimeter Apo refractor. And essentially this is just a really fancy camera lens. So this is really good for photography, essentially. And you don't need to get a fancy telescope for astronomy. In fact, if you do like camera work, so if we go telephoto lenses for cameras, we just search for those. Here we have a Canon telephoto lens. It's probably more expensive than $100 telephoto lens, and it does 200 to 800 millimeters of focal length. That is good enough to start viewing planets for $100. So if you just get a DSLR camera and get a decent telephoto lens for it, you can just start doing astronomy with that. So you can get pretty creative for a beginner setup. Hope that helps. But it is really expensive when you get into the weeds. All right, so let's see if there's any more questions.
What kind of space hacking is going on in terms of adversaries, attacks on critical space infrastructure?
Right. So what are people attacking in space? Well, it depends what kind of satellite you have up. So a lot of satellites have military applications, in which case you have nation-state actors trying to either sabotage those missions or getting the data. Sometimes you have things like Starlink, which are used for ground-to-space communications. That can be used by adversaries to, ransomware the company if they can get on and now service the satellites. But also if they can get the traffic, that's a thing. But oftentimes troops or people in regions rely on these satellites for internet when the ground communications fall off. So a lot of times bad guys will try to go in and disrupt the satellite communications as part of sort of a warfare type deal. And a lot of times you just get people that are just, hackers trying to get onto the satellites and do stuff with them just for kicks. Now, the place you should look at first, or I should say the place in the satellite sphere where there are the most vulnerabilities is almost always on the ground station. This isn't usually the case, but security through obscurity works to a certain extent in space. I'm not saying this is a good idea. Like, you're not secure doing security through obscurity, but if you have a satellite it's just a one-off thing, and it has a custom dictionary for commands, and it has a lifespan of 3 years, if you can just keep that custom dictionary away from the bad guys, you can effectively, have a satellite safe from attacks, even though you're doing really bad security practices. Most attacks are not on the satellite themselves. Usually what happens is that a hacker will get onto the ground systems. Then the ground systems will be able to send commands to the satellites, and they have all the command dictionaries, and they'll just go through the ground station to mess up the satellite. So that's usually what we see. Let's see. Powman90 says, "Do you have any SATCOM LOS system for connectivity?" LOS, loss of signal. LOS system for connectivity from home, or more likely remote work login via computer. So I do have a ground station where I live. I can't. Let me see. If we go QRZ. Hold on, I'm going to share my desktop here. If we go to QRZ and we add my we search for my call sign. Here we go. So this is outside my window. This is my ground station. There is a central dish, and that does like L-band and higher. If you do radio, L-band just means 1 gigahertz and higher. And then there are these two Yagis to the left and right. The far one does VHF, so that's about 100 megahertz to about 200 megahertz. And the one on the right is UHF, so that's around the 400 megahertz band. And anything higher is done in the dish. And this will, it's on a rotator, so it's computer controlled. It can point at anything and track objects in the sky. The central thing in this, the receiving element in the dish was 3D printed. It's a total hack job. But it will contact everything up to about geostationary orbit. So, and it can send and receive and do all that fun stuff. So that's what I have at home. And it works great, actually. I'm very, very happy. Let's see. Elizabeth asks, after this is over, can you stay on Zoom and share your screen? Absolutely.
That's for the student who is having trouble adding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carlos, if you could stay on with us, maybe we can get your problem solved. Caitlin, somebody, there was another question that I thought was pretty good, which is, does NASA offer a bug bounty program, CTFs, cyber events, or student opportunities?
Oh, great question. I do see it now. So, yes, I did work for NASA for a while. Our bug bounty program, or I should say their bug bounty program, sucks. There's very little bug bounty to be had. Like, you're not going to make any money. But if you do find a bug on a NASA site, there is someone to contact. So if you there is a vulnerable disclosure policy, and I will share my screen again. So if you search for NASA vulnerability disclosure policy, you can report any bugs you find. So if you want to go around looking for bugs, you can do that. Now you cannot, they're not going to give you money. They're not going to give you any fame. But they will acknowledge your report and maybe even maintain a dialogue. So, so definitely if you find something, report it. Do report it. But yeah, there's no, you can't make money. And there's no, events or anything like that. And this is in part because this is a government organization. And so I did advocate for more, let's give out t-shirts and badges and stuff like that. And you have no idea the amount of bureaucracy when you say something like that. Yeah, we should make badges. And then it has to go through 20 committees to even be considered as a thing. And then you need to get the budget for it. And then you need to get even more approval. So it's a government thing, unfortunately. So line of sight, LOS. So Powman says LOS, line of sight. So you do need line of sight. For radio, line of sight is more important than anything else. Usually radio will travel forever and forever to the edge of the universe, but you need that line of sight. So a lot of people think radio just drops off and after a certain amount of time you can't pick it up anymore. That's not really true. I mean, we are communicating with the Voyager probes because we do have line of sight with them still. And if you know anything about scale, the Voyager probes are outside the solar system, which is ridiculously far away. And the Voyagers are transmitting at 1 watt, and we're still receiving them. So yeah, if you have line of sight, pretty much anything's possible. All right. Do we have any other questions? Thank you, Kayla. Okay,
Great.
perfect.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.